Brock Lesnar, a Bobby Lashley, that have been able to do MMA and pro wrestling. Brock did it separately, but Bobby's doing it simultaneously, per se. Did you seek out any advice for them when you were thinking about doing this, or did you just look at what they were doing and see what they were doing from afar?
I didn't really know either one of those guys when I made the decision. Definitely watching from afar. The internet is the future of television. It's the future of pro wrestling. It's probably the future of MMA. The broadcasts are all going to be on there soon. And not only that, you have, decades and decades of footage that is on the internet and available to me, at any time. So it's a different world right now than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, to where you can get your hands on good film and really learn from it and excel from it. I did meet Bobby a couple months ago in October at a show in Oklahoma. He was so excited. Told me to come down to America Top Team, messaged the owner of it, and seemed very welcoming. And I was a little taken back. He was very happy and excited for me. I think I kind of pumped him up a little bit about it.
Well, it's interesting because that is your weight class, correct? You and Bobby could meet at some time or at some point. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're both in the heavyweight division. Both fight for Bellator, so very possibly could. That'd be a good question. We all fight about draws. Would people want to see two guys who pro wrestle also fight in a cage? I don't know. Maybe they would want to pair it up against one fighter and one pro wrestler, but we both got a win streak going. It's hard to say no to that. So.
And you both are very accomplished amateur wrestlers. That's the other thing. It's not just two guys that are pro wrestlers that are trying MMA. It's guys that have this background. Right? You were an All-American at Oklahoma, correct?
Correct. 2006. Yep, I was an All-American. Yeah. So it's really nice to be able to rely on those backgrounds because when you break it down to the most basic form of MMA fighting, I see such a strong resemblance in how we would train, how we would prepare, how we would peak for competition for amateur wrestling. There's such a high similarity between the two. You're out there by yourself. You train with a team, but you're out there by yourself. So there's nowhere to hide. You're on an island, and your hard work is going to be your result. So I think that part's very cool and gives me a lot of confidence.
You've been residing in Florida. Your wife is a South Florida gal. You mentioned Bobby mentioned American Top Team. Their main headquarters is in Coconut Creek, which really is like 2 miles from where you're going to be wrestling on Saturday night. So if you're able to get in town early, I'm sure they'd open the door to you to come in and check things out if you wanted to. Do you have any serious thoughts of possibly training down here at American Top Team?
The logistics of it right now are tough. Like, my schedule is pretty packed as it is, and with 2 kids up here in school in Tampa, uprooting them would be tough. And then wrestling on the weekends, and then flying to Lauderdale to train for 4 days. I'm sure, I could definitely do it, but not all the time. It really would be an honor, though, to go there and train. I think it's so cool. I'm 35 years old and making a pretty big career change. Still doing the same, but making a pretty big career change. I just think it's such an honor to have the ability to do this and the opportunity. And so anywhere I can train, I'm ready. Anywhere I can fight, I'm ready.
Your wife, as I mentioned, is from South Florida, and she went to high school down here. Jack, do you know if she went to, because I've seen a few things, do you know what high school she went to? Because I know they said, read something on one of the bios, Fort Lauderdale High School, but also I know there are several high schools in Fort Lauderdale, and some private ones too, like a Cardinal Gibbons or a Pinecrest. So I just want to make sure if it was Fort Lauderdale High School or not.
She went to Pope John Paul in Boca. Boca.
Oh, Pope John Paul II, home of the Eagles, correct, in Boca Raton, yes.
Yeah. Or as the kids say it, dope Paul John. That's all I've been told.
So was she into athletics? I know you guys met when you were in FCW, WWE Developmental in Tampa, correct?
Yep. She was signed, aspiring diva, and we met 2008. Like I had just debuted for ECW, and I get a phone call from my buddies who are still in developmental, and they're telling me about this new girl coming to town, turning a head or two. And so, surprisingly, I was at the next developmental TV taping, trying to figure out who this beautiful girl was, and she laughed at my joke. That was even more shocking, and I was hooked from there.
That's awesome. Was she athletic? Do you know when she was? She went to Buffalo, correct? You went to University of Oklahoma, but she went to University of Buffalo, correct?
No, she didn't. She didn't go to college.
Oh, she didn't go. Okay, well then I misread that. You went to Oklahoma. Was she athletic when she was younger or in high school?
Yeah. She was a competitive figure skater when she was young, and as she got older, she got away from that. She was more into the modeling side of things, but she does jiu-jitsu. She comes to some of the camps or some of the open classes that I do and rolls, and she's very good at it. I think the first time I told her I loved her was when she woke me up from choking me out. So, I got that going for me. Loves kickboxing, really, really loves MMA. Like, you should watch a pay-per-view. She gets so into it. She's this little tiny thing, but she knows her stuff. And what's really cool is, I consider her the president of the Jake Hager team, as they say, and she's great, man. She's a Pilates instructor, so when I'm sore, banged up, coming off the road from a long airplane flight, or 3 pro wrestling shows and then crammed into an airplane, I can come home and she has all these great stretches and Pilates exercises that really kick my butt, but really make my body feel so much better afterwards. And that's really going to be a key point of my training moving forward because of my age.
That's really interesting and all, because I was going to ask you about DDP yoga even, but that sounds really good too. I'll ask one more question about her and then we'll wrap it up. Did she have any interest of going back into pro wrestling at any time?
Yes, she does, because she pro wrestles with me. She ballets for me on certain shows that can afford her. She'll come out and she does a great job, and she gets so excited about it because she was a big pro wrestling fan when she was growing up. She doesn't want to admit that she was, and so she's definitely balleting and getting better at it. She's fortunate that she gets to work with someone as good as me, so I can give her, good experience.
There you go, man. Hey, you got the pedigree, you got the titles, you got the rep going, so no one could argue that.
Oh, trust me, she can argue with anybody.